It's that Skydive Sim Guy podcast where we discuss skydiving stories as well as give some great tips, whether it's the real world or the virtual world. This podcast is made possible by Skydive Sim, the world's most advanced skydiving simulator. Hey, it's that Skydive Sim Guy. I'm here today with my guest, Thijs, and I cannot say your last name. Go ahead and say it for me.
It's Thijs Gerritsen. I just finished my AFF a few months ago. Done a few solo jumps.
Okay, cool.
AFF.
So you're in Netherlands, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What's the minimum age there is what, 16 for
16.
AFF?
Yeah, pretty lucky.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a unique case for me because most of the people I talk to, they've already skydived in the past and then they do Skydive Sim. In your case, I think you were playing Skydive Sim first, right?
Yeah, so I bought it like 3 months before I started my AFF. Thought, well, I was just gonna get into it, maybe get some practice from it as well. So free fall, of course, very hard to get into VR because the positioning, you have to stand up in the game. But for the parachuting, well, yeah, it's definitely helped me. Like, for example, my landing and on my AFF, went very well. I've heard that in America, they sometimes use a walkie-talkie to like communicate
They
for
do,
the
yes.
fighting. For us, that wasn't the case. So his first time all on your own, you're going to have to do it
You're
yourself.
all on your own, so nobody telling you when to flare?
Nope. So it was, the game has definitely helped me with that simulator.
Cool. Did you talk to any of your instructors that you've already been using Skydive Sim? Or
No.
you didn't
To be
tell them?
fair, I thought I had a pretty much confidence in myself. I've watched a lot of videos, played your game a lot, and so I was definitely confident because they learned us to roll or something when you land. For
the PLR?
yeah, I think that was it.
Parachuter's landing roll, yeah.
Yeah. So I found I didn't like that landing. Thought it looked very weird. So just went for the the standing landing immediately, and it worked.
Really?
So
So you actually been standing up your landings ever since you started?
definitely.
Wow. I never did. If I would tumble, even after I had my B license, I still sometimes would not. But of course, you're young, and I think young people tend to get things a lot quicker.
Yeah. So the problem with most people is that the flaring too high. So because of the simulator, I was very used to when to flare. So I've seen a lot of people flare and then let go face first into the ground. So not a good thing. So flaring too high wasn't really a problem. Sometimes maybe a bit too late, but I would just run it out and would work anyway.
Yeah. So you have not had one stand-up landing? Is that what you're telling me? That is amazing.
Yep.
Wow. I think you're just a natural athlete, probably. I mean, I'd like to take credit and say maybe it's the sim help, but honestly, I just don't see that. I haven't met anybody that just stood up their landings from the beginning. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I always like to be the best at things. So because of course we had a competition with the AFF group. Of course they can jump more because they're older, have more money. So being able to jump more, but I try to jump the most I can, and always try to be competitive. Want to be the best. So landing was definitely a part of that.
Yeah. So tell me, how long have you wanted to skydive? Did you know it when you were younger and you just weren't of age, or what?
No, last year. So when I was 15, I saw a video, I think on TikTok or something, for skydiving, and thought, oh, let me do that as well. So I booked a tandem, but the weather was pretty bad the whole year. So when I went on vacation, it suddenly became good. But when I came back, it was bad again. So I did it in May this year, so 2024. When I booked it in May of 2023. So it was a whole year later before I did it. But the day I did the tandem, I immediately went for the AFF.
So you fell in love with it right away.
Yeah,
So
right
tell me
away.
this: you said you did you booked it last year and you were 15. What's the legal age there to do a tandem?
It's young. I think something like 8 or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it's more of a height requirement than a age requirement.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in the US and 18 is the magic number here for doing tandem or anything. Of course, uh, there are exceptions like Make a Wish Foundation does, and we talked about it on the show before where USPA actually grants exemptions for situations like that.
Also, tandem
So,
is
but it's
also
pretty
18.
interesting. Yeah, it's pretty interesting that you guys can start so young. But I mean, it's a great ride. I imagine for a kid it would be great too.
Yeah, so tandem, that's pretty old to be fair, 18. Because
It is.
I know, I know like one person that is like 14, knows he wants to, in the Netherlands, knows he wants to go skydiving already. I think he's in your, plays your game as well.
Okay.
He wants to go skydiving. So what he does now is wind tunnel time. That's to practice for the real thing,
For free
and
fall.
does
Yeah, yeah.
tandems just to get used to the falling. So it's
Wow.
definitely 18 would be pretty old to be fair. Maybe like
Yeah.
different age would be better to get more people into the sport.
Maybe that's why you're doing all your landings standing up because we get too old by the time we can do it here, huh?
Yeah.
So tell me about your very first experience. How were you feeling the day of? You went there, were you nervous? All that stuff. Tell me the whole
To be
thing.
fair, so it was on Texel. So it was a different place I did my AFF. So we really had to plan the whole day out because to get there, it's probably 4 to 5 hours travel. Because we had to take the boat and all kind of things because it's an island. So I went there. Wasn't really nervous to be fair until I stepped into the plane, but I still have that. So when I've done 15 jumps now. Still scared every time the door opens. Shit, I need to jump
Yeah.
out. So that's always. I still have the scariness of skydiving, but I'm getting used to it more.
Yeah. I had it. I mean, the scaredness of being in the plane up until maybe ninth or 10th jump. I was cussing myself out on the plane. In my head, of course. Nobody
Yeah,
could hear me. But I'm looking out the window. The plane is taxiing. The plane is taking off. And I'm just thinking in my head, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then it just became fun.
yeah,
And I will say this, I mean, being scared is good. I still, if I don't jump for a while, all sorts of thoughts go through my head before I jump. I think it's good. It just keeps you ready for if anything goes wrong. So I think it's a good attitude to have that, hey, this is a risky adventure I'm about to take, right? So
yeah,
just gotta, being scared makes you prepared. So I think that's a good thing.
yeah. That's what I have as well. So I'm always scared, especially the second I pull the pilot chute out. I'm just hoping that things goes open. Always ready for it. Even though it's my 15th jump, I'm always ready to do the emergency procedures because
Right.
that's the most important thing we learned on the ground course. I think probably like 80% was the emergency procedures because that's basically the hardest part, most important part of the skydiving. Although it doesn't happen often that your main canopy doesn't like fails, it is a
Right.
very important part.
It is definitely an important part. I think that's one of the things in my head, like as I'm going out the door, I focus on just what I'm doing at the time. It's kind of like, okay, first I'm doing gear check. Then you get on the plane. I'm doing gear check before I exit. And then I worry about exiting the door correctly. But definitely, I always think about, okay, if I have a malfunction, if I don't have a good chute on my head. So I'm feeling the handles on the plane, just kind of putting that muscle memory in. But I will argue that probably the part that you can get hurt the most is the landing. That's
Yep.
that last 10 seconds, I think that's where most people end up getting hurt if
Yep.
they don't have a good landing, right?
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well. Of course, in Teuge, that's where I jump. There's a lot of waiting times, so you just sit down, take a look at people that are jumping, landing. I've seen enough of very hard landings where you thought, from shit, that could happen to anyone else. I've
Yeah,
also, of course, looked at stats of skydiving deaths, injuries, and a lot of time it's with the landing, and
right,
the failing rig is barely anything now. It's maybe like 10% of all the injuries is
right.
because of a rig not working correctly. It's barely anything. Most of the time, it's low turns, stuff like that. Mainly the pilot's fault. So yeah, I'm on my 15 jump, so I'm still kind of like doing the backflips, barrel rolls in the air, not doing
Cool.
very special. So I never go into the air with a plan. Just have some fun, get to the 20 jumps to start the one-on-ones, and
That's the way to
get
do
more
it.
fun
So,
out of
so
it.
right now you're doing solos, and I remember when I started doing solos without an instructor, it was just boring. Is it boring for you too? Like the free
So
fall portion, unless you're doing what you say, which is flips and barrel rolls and stuff. It's kind of like, oh, I'm still at 9K.
yeah,
I got lots of time. Is that what's happening with you?
yeah, that's what's happening right now. So the people in my AFF group are starting to do the one-on-ones now. I think two of them finished it already. So kind of looking forward to it. Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, shit, the 8,000, do some more things before I pull the chute. And then the last 1,000, I'm just waiting, waiting
Yeah,
for the pull part of the skydive.
I know the feeling. Have you done a hop and pop yet?
No, so I wanted to do it, but before we can, we need two people to do it in the same jump. Otherwise, it's not worth it for the
I
drop
see.
zone to
To do
like,
the low pass?
yeah. So I need two
Okay.
people, so I need to get someone from my AFF group to do it with me.
That's
So
pretty
I wanted
cool.
to do it last time I was there, but there was nobody else to do it with. So yeah, but I still have to do
So
it.
how often are you going right now? Like, do you go weekends?
So yeah, I have school and work in hockey. So Saturday, it's most of the time it's hockey, and Sunday work. Sunday work will basically never, because I'm finished at 2 in the afternoon. And
Yeah,
then it's like 1 hour before I get to the drop zone. Would it really work me 1 to 2 jumps? But that's it. Saturday, I have to sport like at 6 in the evening. So maybe like in the morning. But most of the time, I would do it when I have off from school.
cool. You mentioned hockey, and the last episode, I had the director of a movie called Skyfly,
Yeah.
which is about skydiving and hockey. So it's kind of interesting that you just mentioned you have hockey and you're also a skydiver. So it just reminds me of Skyfly, the movie.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I should watch it. I listened to the episode like a week
Yeah,
ago or
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
And
yeah. He was the one that we put out last.
yeah, so I watched it. So I wanted to watch what was it, Cutaway as well, the movie. Can find it barely anywhere. So I need to find a
I
place to
think
watch it.
it's Skyfly. From what I understand, it's on all the streamings. I know it was on Amazon when I watched it,
Yep.
but I am pretty sure. I don't know. I mean, maybe because it's Netherlands, it might be different licensing agreements. I can find out for you and let you know.
Yeah,
Actually,
I'll look around as well. Take
yeah, yeah.
always
Well,
like watching
I'll ask
Skydive.
him. Hey, is it in Netherlands? How can he watch it? So we'll definitely take care of that for you.
Yep.
Uh, has anything very memorable happened during your 15 jumps? Like, what's one jump that sticks out to you the most?
Not anything really. Of course, the seventh AFF jump. So the last one is, of course, the best one because you're still jumping with an instructor. It's basically a
Yeah,
one-on-one. Um, so that was the most fun I've had yet. Of course, so because you're looking forward to getting your license, being able to jump solo, and we learned he was just doing some tricks in the air with me and having fun. So that's why I'm looking forward to the one-on-ones to have that same feeling again.
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I actually am one of the people that I like doing movement jumps on my own, like tracking.
Yep.
So I do a lot of that actually. So I jump out. Movement jumps, once you get into it, is so much fun because you feel like a plane departing the plane, kind of like a smaller plane. You're
Yep.
just a glider that just gets off and just slowly goes off. So I enjoy doing that. Those are the jumps that I do enjoy, and they don't get boring
Yeah,
when you're doing
exactly.
by yourself because you're looking at the ground, you're seeing how much forward movement you got, how much ground you're covering until your ditter goes off, and you're like, okay, it's time. But yeah, I mean, jumping solo, yeah, it can get boring. People are surprised that the people that don't skydive are normally surprised that you say, "Oh, it's kind of boring in free fall by myself," because they don't understand. You're just kind of waiting.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, I'm not that experienced yet. I really would like to try wingsuiting at least. It's basically like some kind of tracking, just a bit
Yeah, yeah,
different. Would like to do it because I think it would be a fun thing for me to learn.
for
Um,
sure. What's do you have to have a certain number of jumps there as
yeah, I
well
think
before you
it's
can
a
wingsuit?
200 and a B license.
Okay, yeah, I believe the
Um,
same here.
yeah, so that's the same for a camera as well. To be right, I find the
Right,
camera
same.
a bit too weird that it's 200.
Yeah.
Although somewhere I would get that it is a safety concern for people focusing on their camera more than the skydive itself.
It's possible for sure. I tell you what, I was doing outside camera one time and I had a lot of jumps at that point, and I kind of forgot and got into their burble and just went straight to them. So I think that's part of the reason they're trying to make sure
Yeah,
you don't get too focused on what you're shooting, because I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if I get just a little bit more on top here.
well,
But right then is when I went to the burble. And of course, you learn from that.
yeah,
I practiced it in the tunnel how to get out of the burble after
yep,
that so many times. So it's a good thing. I mean, as long as nobody gets hurt, it's good. But I think that's one of the big reasons for camera.
yeah,
Also, I
exactly.
think snag hazard is a big reason. They just don't want you to be dealing with too many things when you first start out.
Yep.
Okay, so aside from you, have you seen anybody else at your drop zone that stands up every single landing since they started?
Um, no, most of
No.
them
Okay.
definitely for their first jumps. Probably after they did, I don't jump with them every time. They jump more often than I can. But I did definitely for the first few jumps. It was kind of like maybe first three, they still did the roll. And after that,
Yeah.
they were landing some of the jumps. It really depended on how their incoming line was, if they were on the right path to make their landing flared on time. But of course, I've seen enough students that make the mistake for flaring and letting go, and that just goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, right? It's like you flare and you get scared because you're gaining more forward speed, and
Yep.
then if you let go, you're actually going bam,
Yep.
head first. So that's no good. What did your instructors say when they saw you stand up every single landing?
Well, they were of course impressed, but to be fair, I'm 16, so it's kind of you have the best instincts to do
Right,
things on time. For example, for the flaring, it's just a timing thing, and the rest it just goes automatically.
right.
So
Yeah, I think you're an athlete from what I can tell, because you also said hockey and things like that. So I
yeah,
think that kind of carries from one sport to another with your timing, right?
yeah, exactly. So I go to the gym, for example. I do a lot of sports. So tennis, I've done that. Padel, that's not really popular in America. I think it was more like pickleball, like that kind of sport. Also, I'm gonna run a 10 miles in like this weekend. So do a lot of things to stay in shape.
I know it's pretty late over there. It's afternoon here, so it's late over there. I won't keep you long. Is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah. So I talked with a pretty well. He's old now. I think he's like 63 or something. Talked with old skydiver in my street. didn't know he was there until the street party. We had a street party like last week. And my father talked to him about that. I was skydiving. He skydived like 24 years ago. He took a break because his children didn't want to risk things for that. Talked to him for like an hour. He gave some good advice, and it was definitely different. I think it was like 40 years ago to how you get your solo license. So it was very different of how, because he started with the static line. I think that was the standard for like 40 years ago, and then kept on going higher and higher until you get to like the max altitude. So that was very interesting to see about how the process has changed in that
and parachutes have changed a lot since then too. I'd imagine he was probably jumping round parachutes back then, right?
Exactly. So it was very interesting. He told me that first. So you start with a static line, then you go to like a hop and pop, then you go to like 2 seconds free fall, 5 seconds, 8 seconds. You keep on going up and up and up until you get to like the 50 seconds. And back then they jumped with only 4 from one plane instead of the 18 we have now.
Yeah.
It's a very different number for
It sure is. A lot of skydivers in the sky. It makes it a bit more complicated to keep separated from one another too.
Yeah, exactly. And the prices, I think, haven't really changed for like the jumps in total, but for rigs they have gone up a lot. He could have gotten like for $2,000. He got a full rig right now. That's for a new one. If we get one now, second hand, we're at least looking at $5,000 to $6,000.
Exactly.
So it's definitely big change right now. Trying to get the money to get an own rig, but that's going to take some time.
Yeah, man. Everything's gone up. I mean, I know that even jump tickets have gone up. When I started jumping, I think it was like 25. Now most places about 30, 35. I don't know what it is over there.
For us, it's 25.
25? Okay.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, so the 25, they'll pay, I think, like it's 10 for a rig and like everything to jump with. And if you want to get your parachute packed, it's another 10. So for me, it's still 45. And I hope to get like the packing to work because it's pretty hard.
Well, do you get to? It's a rental, right? So you don't get to pack your own rental, right? Because
so we can rent it at like the skydiving shop next to the drop zone. If you rent it there, you need to pack it by yourself. Then it's 10 per jump.
Got you. Okay, makes sense. It's definitely some differences from where I jump at most of the time. In the States. Do you have any plans of coming out to jump other countries, US, any other countries?
To be fair, I'm still in high school, finished so this is so next year will be my last year. Looking to take a break from school for a year, maybe go to like New Zealand or something to go and jump there. Maybe do like packing as a job and get some jumping in there.
That's great, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so sounds like you're pretty passionate about skydiving, and I can tell you're going to be one of the great ones. You have stand up every landing, and that's something to be said. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm looking forward to everything I'm going to do now, especially the one-on-ones. Looking forward to it and getting to like at least a B license this year. That's my goal. So
Great, man. Well, great chatting with you. Have a good night. I know it's later over there.
Yeah, you have a good day. It's probably around 3 right now, or no, 2. 2, I think it was.
About 3 o'clock. About 2 o'clock here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you have a nice day, and we'll talk around.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk. I'll see you on the Discord and probably see you in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, have a nice day.